Welcome to Travel Unraveled. I'm your host, Blake. I'm here with Erol Kalafat, Technical Product Manager at Amazon Studios. He's a bit of a big deal, a great friend of mine. I really hope you enjoy this. He has a lot of wonderful insights, and I'm happy to have him here. So, Erol, welcome. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much. Really appreciate you having me. We're sure to have a really great time.
All right, let's jump right into it. You are Turkish.
Correct.
There's no denying that.
That's absolutely correct.
So, growing up, what was your experience having a family from Turkey? How often did you go there? What was it like?
The only experience that I had actually was when I was about 9 years old. We bought a summer place in Turkey. And so since we bought that summer place, we'd go every single year and we'd hang out like 6 weeks there. That was my really getting to know being Turkish, was going back to Turkey every year for like 6 weeks.
So every year you went?
Every single year. Absolutely.
Until when?
Up until forever. I still go. I missed a few years here and there, but really since I was 9 years old, basically I've been going back to Turkey every single year.
That's great. And I know from experience, we went to Turkey together, and I think it was 2009.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And at the time I had kind of a smaller worldview, and I know my family was very nervous.
Your mom straight up said, "You're not bringing him to the Middle East."
Yeah.
She thought I was bringing you straight into the thick of it.
That's right. And this year I've gone
2007.
Okay. Yeah, my perspective has changed a lot since then, and you could argue that stuff in Turkey has become even more unsettled now than it was then.
It's gotten worse for sure.
I think, our relations are okay, but how is it now going back to Turkey? Do you have a different feeling, or?
It's tough. I have family over there and they are now adults. It's not like I'm going and visiting some kids. So they're active. Look, my family is very Western and they're very liberal compared to most in Turkey. And even though, we're at a point in Turkey where half of the people feel one way, half of the people feel another.
Kind of like America. I mean,
absolutely. And in most developed countries, you'll see the same thing. To find 60% thinking one thing is going to be tough. I dare you to go find that. It's going to be 50-50. But it's always tough. So at least when I go back, it's interesting to see that there's so much similarity in what I remember of Turkey, but there's a lot different. And in a lot of ways, it's regressing. And I think that culturally, there's a lot of folks that want to be heard that aren't being heard.
So what's regressing specifically? Are they being censored? Is it that there's misinformation? Are people what is going downhill?
I think the biggest thing is the government essentially is trying to maintain what they think is the right way to move forward. And so what you see is censorship. You see a lot of misinformation when it comes to how things are meant to go forward and what information is coming out of the country into other countries. It's a tough place to be right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And having been there, it's difficult to kind of see an ally like that and our regression. And now, I think the victims become the people that are just trying to, better themselves. And like you said, maybe be a little more progressive or a little more Western, but they're kind of caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, the first thing that the government went after was the military. So they basically went after the military, got rid of everyone that was in the military.
It was a coup, right? Am I mistaken? Or a failed coup?
There's a lot to be seen in terms of that coup. I'm not sure if it actually was a coup. I don't know if it was maybe something that was established by the actual government just to have some sort of a instigating factor, but
like a propaganda type thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What it came down to was the government needed to rid itself of a lot of the opponents. So first, it went after the military, and after the military and jailing thousands of top-ranking military officials, it went after the schools, the universities, and it went to the universities and it got rid of all of the top ranking teachers and professors, put them in jail, or basically like told them they don't have a job anymore.
Censorship from the educated, starting from the top down of the smartest people, and once you silence them, the rest will fall in line, that type of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes down to it, you're going to have opponents across the realm, but the ones that actually do some damage are the ones that are teaching your kids.
Let's move on. You're from Turkey. How often do people ask you if you love turkey?
I remember when I was a kid, a lot of folks would say, "Hey, are you hungry for turkey?" Hungry for turkey. And then I think after a while, people started saying greasy turkey. To answer your question, often.
My own grandfather, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Class act.
That's right. Yeah, I remember it was the first time I met your grandpa. We sat down for some pasta, of course, Italian family.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, he said, "Hey, you from Turkey? Do you like eating turkey?" I was like, "Well, Leo Shortino, I love turkey."
I think I remember you actually said there are no turkeys in Turkey.
There aren't. It's not something that Turks eat. Like, you eat beef, you eat lamb.
Yeah, they're not indigenous there.
And not just that, but it just doesn't make monetary sense.
It does not make sense.
It don't make sense, baby.
All right, so you work for Amazon, big, wildly successful company.
Yeah, pretty good.
The corporate living, work-life balance. Are they good with that? And I'm of the opinion that most Americans, they have vacation, but they don't take it. So they're kind of victims of our own hard work ethic.
Absolutely.
So how is it being at Amazon? Do they give you time off?
Yeah.
Do you take it? Are you criticized when you take it? Like, how does it work there?
Here's the thing. I've worked with the people in Europe for a long time, and people in Europe, basically, August is off, right?
They're relaxed there. They get time off.
But August is off. There is you will not find anyone in the office in August. It's because it's a given. That's when it's time for them to take time off. In the U.S., it's funny. Like, look, you start with the company and you're not going to get a month off.
Never. You'd be happy to get 2 weeks off.
That's right.
And if you have it, are you taking it?
That's the bigger thing is I think a lot of Americans feel like they should not take their time off. So they might take a weekend here and there. They might take a Friday or a Monday off,
or save it for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever they feel obligated to do.
Working in the entertainment industry, I knew that a lot of studios and Sony Pictures is this way. I think that Warner Brothers and Universal are this way. Basically, the time between Christmas and New Year's are essentially off, whether they're officially off or not. You end up getting that time, and I think that's a good time for folks to kind of, take a breather. But I think a lot of folks actually don't take the time that they're given. At Amazon, you're given 2 weeks, and eventually...
Which is standard.
Absolutely. And after a year, you're actually given 3 weeks. Still, I think that folks are not taking the time that's allotted to them. I'm a big proponent of taking the time that you need.
I know you take the time because you take trips and, I follow you taking trips. How do people respond to you when you take a trip and you see them and they're not taking their vacation? Do they resent you when you come back to work? Are they like...
I don't feel that. I think it might be there. I'm sure that feeling exists, but I take at least 3 weeks a year, bottom line. And so, if anyone doesn't do that, that's their own prerogative. Probably I'm at a point where I'm so staunch on the fact that I think I deserve that time off that even if someone did give me a hard time, I wouldn't hear it. So yeah, I don't hear it, but yeah, I'm sure it exists.
What's your premium way to travel now? Like what's your go-to when you're planning a trip? What's step one?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah. I mean, it's really tough. And, I think I'll get some flack for this, but even if you're in a relationship, I think the most important thing to do is to travel solo. I think the only way that you're really going to get to know yourself is if you take some time, put yourself out on a limb, go find a place that you've never been to, and go spend some time there. If that's 2 days, great. If that's 5, awesome. But to not have that safety net of the person you love or the people that you love, I think is a great way to understand a bit more about yourself. So I would say travel solo. And, even if it's go travel solo for 3 days and then have your loved one come meet up with you after that time, I think that's the way to go.
And this doesn't have to be international. This could be going to Arizona. This could be,
Sure. Look, it can even be, let's say, if you live in LA, go somewhere that you haven't been in LA. Go find a place that you've never been. Go solo. Don't feel like you need to meet up with someone. Don't feel like that, you need to have someone there in order to make it okay. Go travel solo. Feel comfortable in your own bones.
So on that note, if you're going solo, what do you do to entertain yourself? Are you taking time for yourself and enjoying the aloneness, or are you putting yourself in a situation that you might meet a stranger?
Yeah, it's both. It's both, right? So, for example, I went to go travel to Prague, and I went to Prague and I went solo.
I love Prague. I've been to Prague twice. Loved it.
Beautiful place. Went to Prague, saw all Prague has to offer, and then after that, I decided, okay, I'm going to go to the outskirts. And so I went to this, essentially it was a water park. And I went to this water park.
Like Raging Waters?
Not quite that insane, but...
More Eastern Bloc, shirts off.
That's right. Yeah, imagine a place that has like 5 pools and like 10 water slides. It wasn't Raging Waters, but it was a cool place to go. And there I was, like, hanging out by myself. They served beers on the side of the pool, and I had just the most amazing time.
I think people are born with beers in their mouth in Prague.
They certainly are, and they had plenty of them there. But I took public transport there, and then I came back, and I was like, okay, I need to get some dinner. And I stopped off at a place, and it was just a little hole in the wall. You never would have seen this place from anything else. It was, stuck in the side of the wall.
Yeah, this isn't like a TripAdvisor 5-star.
Not even close. Not even close. I walked right up into this place, and I don't know any check. I don't know what's happening, so I basically just motioned towards a table, and they seated me. Luckily,
you're also huge, so
I'm gigantic.
To some degree, people are kind of frightened of you.
And
walk
they should
in,
be, absolutely,
and they're like, "This man needs a beer immediately.
We need to get him a beer immediately." So I sit down, I get a beer, I order a beer, and the beer comes, and then I have maybe like a 50, 60-year-old couple walk into the restaurant, and this is like an outdoor terrace type place, right? And so I'm sitting here solo, and this 50, 60-year-old couple comes up, and they said some words to me. They kind of motioned and they pointed.
Pantomime.
Yeah, they pointed at these chairs that were in front of me, and I said, yeah, of course. You can have these chairs. It's just me, so whatever you want. But they weren't asking for the chairs. They were asking, do you mind if we sit with you?
Yeah, we don't get that in America.
No, and so they, me saying, yes, of course, they took that as, yes, please, of course, come sit with me. And they sat with me. And I'm not sure if anyone's had any experience in having a conversation without speaking the same language, but we certainly had a conversation, and we definitely did not speak the same language. And we ended up, motioning to each other and doing pantomiming and
I completely understand because I, as you know, I studied abroad in Germany, and You
didn't know German, did you?
No, I didn't know German,
of course not.
And Germans they're cold, calculated people. It's not necessarily like a welcoming environment, similar to the Czech Republic, I think. Doesn't mean they're not friendly. Doesn't mean they're not pleasant.
That's right.
But it's a bit daunting when you're like, I don't speak the language. Yeah. I don't know what people are saying. What are they thinking about me?
Yeah.
So I can relate.
We ended up having a full meal together, and I ended up not knowing anything that it said on the menu. So the guy actually tried to explain
Spätzle
right, and he ended up ordering for me, and then I ended up eating. It was absolutely delicious. And the
Sorry,
three,
can I dive in real quick? Like, what was it like having a strange man order a meal for
full
you?
trust, full trust. Literally, I dove in full trust. He ended up ordering a meal for me. I remember vividly that the wife was like, yes,
Nodding
yes.
in approval.
Yeah. Like, no, don't worry. He's got you. And he orders for me and we eat, and it was the most delicious meal ever. And then they ended up packing up and they're like, all right, well, we'll see you later.
Were you sad when they left?
I was a bit sad, but they ended up leaving and I said, okay, I'll see you later. Maybe about 2 minutes later, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for my bill. And the waitress, she looks at me and she goes, oh no, it's been taken care of.
Oh, they paid for your meal.
They ordered my meal and they paid for the entire meal,
Wow.
including the beers. It was insane.
Yeah, that is hard to imagine here. You know, like, would you ever invite a stranger to your table?
No, it doesn't exist here.
Say, you know what? You don't speak my language. Come sit with me. We'll pantomime to one another and eventually, understand each other. But
I mean, that trip was the first time that I traveled solo. And that trip was the reason that I continued to travel solo. Look, I've made a lot of friends in these random trips that I've gone on, and I still keep in touch with them. But there's a lot of people that I don't keep in touch with. And the likelihood is that you're not going to keep in touch with these people. But essentially what you have to get used to is you have to get used to trusting wholeheartedly in someone temporarily. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with because, hell, in general, we have a hard time trusting wholeheartedly in people permanently.
yeah, it's hard to trust the people you know and love.
Absolutely. So you just have to know that, like, look, you're here for just a short amount of time. So make connections, make relationships that are worthwhile in that short amount of time. It's not easy. Well, I mean, like, this. I'm a big proponent of couch surfing. Couchsurfing.com. It's a big, social extravagance that.
Yeah, couch surfing, Airbnb. You kind of have done all that stuff. So
Yeah. I've rented places out. I like being in communication with a lot of travelers. So I think that couch surfing is a great way to stay connected to folks that love traveling. Now, I meet a million people. I've had tons of people stay with me from Poland, for example.
Polacks. I heard that was not a politically correct term.
That's what I've heard as well. Yeah, I'm not sure, but people from Poland.
Polish people.
But I have these folks stay with me, and like, will I see them? I don't know. Will they have a great time staying with me? Absolutely.
But you're that type of guy that ensures people have a great time.
That's right. I bring the energy that I bring, and if someone is up to coordinating with that energy, then that just works out great.
How
Otherwise,
often?
I'm not sure.
How often do people just look at you and go, "You are just a loud American"?
Never had that happen.
Never.
Ever.
Really?
Never, ever.
Wow.
They appreciate the fact that, I come into their place and I'm up to learning a bit more about their situation.
That's great. That's truly encouraging to hear.
Absolutely.
Okay. Favorite place you've been? Don't think too hard. Just.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, look, favorite place I've been because of my bias feelings is a place called Cebece.
I've been there with you.
I know you have. That's our summer place. It's on the north coast of Turkey, and it is 3 hours east of Istanbul. But if you can't get there, I tell you what, you go to Marmaris and you go to the Turkish Riviera, and you'll have a great old time. Anywhere in Turkey, you'll have a good time. Promise.
So tell me more. Turkish Riviera. That's not something you hear a lot. That's not something you Instagram.
That's right.
What is the Turkish Riviera? Why should people go there?
That's right. It's the south coast of Turkey. So there's a lot of cities right along that coast. That's the place to be. You end up hearing a lot about Riviera this, Riviera that. Essentially, it's the hot place to hang out. In Turkey, it's the south coast.
Ride.
You remember?
Ride the white horse.
Man, we were there and we had a hell of a time.
We did. It was all Russians, if I recall.
True. Very true. All Russians. That may not be the case anymore. I'm not sure. I know that the Russian-Turkish relationship has been strained over the past couple of years.
I mean,
but
just proximity-wise, right? It's like
the
you said,
way
Riviera.
yeah.
I mean, I've been there. It's beautiful.
Essentially, the way that a lot of Californians go to Mexico for vacation, a lot of Russians go to Turkey for vacations. That's how it ends up.
Okay, what's the longest trip you've ever done, and what do you think is like the appropriate length of time to take a vacation? Let's say 1, domestically, and 2, internationally.
I feel this. I'm not sure if a lot of people feel this, but you kind of get homesick after a while.
No, I'm 100% with you.
So I'd say probably 3 weeks, to be honest. I don't care if that's a local trip or if it's an international trip. I'd say 3 weeks is probably the best spot.
Are you working on vacation, or do you just completely let it go?
It matters, it matters what you're up to. I've had jobs where you need to take that time off and you need to, not think about work at all. But I've also had jobs where, like right now, I like thinking about work. I like coming up with ideas, and I like,
I mean, that's what people should aspire to do, right? You should like, at least in some regard, what you're doing, and you feel a sense of importance.
Yeah, but you've known me in a lot of different roles, and like some roles I enjoy, and some roles I absolutely don't. What I'd say is I don't think there should be a law. I don't think there should be a rule. I think that you should go on vacation. Number one, you should take the time that's allotted to you. And if you think about work here and there, if you do some work, that's not the biggest thing. But do not let work dictate what you're up to. Allow work to be a part of your time. Don't allow work to make up your time.
I completely agree. Work should not define your life. Work should enhance your life.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's start. I generally don't like to spin a yarn about something negative, but where's the worst place you've been? Or like a place you're like, I'm never going back.
Yeah. Listen, I hate to say it, Romania, but Bucharest. Bucharest.
Forgettable.
Oh my God. They have a place. It's called Old Town. And Old Town was built in 2011.
What?
Yeah. It's Old Town. It was built in 2011. It's the worst. Literally, if you want to go find some prostitutes, that's the place to go. Alicia and I, my girlfriend and I, we're walking around Old
Don't
Town.
mention her by name.
Oh, we were walking around Old Town, and let me tell you, she was mad at me at the first instance that
just
we
for
saw some
for prostitutes
women.
looking at you.
Absolutely. Just the existence of prostitutes. And there was plenty of them. And we were like, okay, let's just find some food. This is fine. We found like 3 places to eat and 45 places to It was messed up. So don't go to Bucharest. I tell you what, though, the best part about Romania is
Transylvania.
Absolutely. So there's a part of Romania that's called Transylvania, and it's
I just read Bram Stoker's Dracula for the first time. And I loved it. It was amazing, and so I can imagine sort of the mystique and the. Yeah. So can you tell me like what's the reality of Transylvania? Like, what's the whole thing behind Dracula?
Transylvania is just a part of Romania, right? So it's the northern part of Romania, and you go there, and it just so happens that. That Bram's castle is there, and that's where Dracula was. And the story is that when the Turks invaded Romania, or what at the time, wasn't Romania, but they invaded, that this guy Brahms took his spoils and took people and put them on stakes.
Their head, like on a pike.
It was their whole body, but yeah, it was
the whole body.
Yeah, through the head.
Wow.
Right, and so he'd stake them up, and then anytime anyone came by, they'd be like, "Listen, we should probably leave this dude alone." And sure enough, they left that dude alone.
And so the rumor spread, and
He was
he feasts on
bloodthirsty.
blood. Yeah, yeah.
Of course.
Interesting. Yeah, that's probably something not everyone knows.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, look, the guy was bloodthirsty in that he needed to do what he needed to do in order to make himself safe.
To survive, yeah.
That's right. But, when it comes down to it, it was the Ottomans that he was trying to protect himself from.
All right, so I'm going to take a hard left here and say, well, it's a two-part question. So do you have a list of where you want to go and you sort of check it off, or do you sort of just go where life takes you, and where is next for you?
Here's the thing. I type in my starting location and I find what the cheapest place to go is. I have bought $200 tickets to Europe.
Wow.
Easily. That's not even outlandish to me.
But
for example,
is that one of those bargain airlines where it's like, we
nope.
charge you for a drink on the plane, like the pack of peanuts?
Here's a perfect example. If I were to go straight to Turkey, mind you, I have to pay for myself and for my girlfriend. It would cost $3,000 to go round trip nonstop to Turkey and back to LA.
For two or for one?
For two.
Okay.
For two. But if I go to Paris and then Turkey and then Brussels, I will pay $600 a person. Now, I'm not sure about you, but for me, I will take a discount like that to go check out more places. I know for a fact.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the layover time and
Well, what I mean is zero layover time. What I mean is straight up, you go to Paris and you stay in Paris for 3 days.
Oh, I got you. So a multi-destination trip.
Absolutely. What I'm talking about is a round trip ticket per person would be $1,500. If you get clever with that trip, you could see 4 different countries for $600.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with that. And I think, Europe is conducive to that, right? We're used to America, where it's like most people don't even go to different states. They haven't been out of their hometown. When you're in Europe, you're a couple hour train ride from another country.
Absolutely.
So it kind of warrants a different attitude, right?
Here's the best advice I can give someone that hasn't traveled to Europe often. From especially the west side, California, travel to Reykjavik. Buy yourself a ticket to Reykjavik, Iceland, and then find a ticket from Reykjavik to anywhere you want to go. I guarantee you'll save half the money.
Really?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Don't know. Look, I think Iceland is trying to get folks to come in. They're trying to get folks to spend money in their country. But what I've noticed is that Reykjavik, you can just get a steal for a deal.
But let's be fair, because Tara's my girlfriend. She was just in Iceland for work and said it was astronomically expensive.
Very expensive.
So we're talking like a one night
Yeah, I've been there twice.
popover.
Yeah, it's very expensive. But I mean, like, look, when you say expensive, it means a meal costs you $20 instead of $15 in the U.S.
It depends what you're doing.
Well, it also matters what your life is.
Sure.
Look, in Los Angeles, I hate to say it,
It's
you're not
expensive
going
as
to go
shit
out.
here.
Yeah, you're not going to go out. You're not going to get a $10 meal anywhere.
No, it's brutal. And here in LA, like, isn't that what we're all doing? We're all like trying to be hip. We're going out. We're doing shit.
Sure.
All right, like, look what I did.
Well, I mean, like, one of the main things is if you're going to go, try and travel, save your money. Put some money aside. Give yourself a nice little balance. What I'm telling you.
How much money? How much money are you bringing?
Here's the perfect example, right? If I was to go to Turkey straight, round trip, nonstop, it would cost me $1,500 times 2, $3,000. Essentially, you're going to end up spending about $1,500, let's say, on a round trip ticket. Double that. That's the amount that you're going to spend. Double the amount that you spend on your airfare, and that's how much you should save.
Okay, so rule of thumb, find your airfare costs and double it. And that's
That's right.
essentially your trip costs.
Correct. And if you can get smart, like I said, instead of doubling $1,500, you can actually find some really smart deals and double that. Double 600 instead of 1,500. Double
Yeah,
600.
I'm with
and
you.
that's how much you're going to spend on that trip.
Okay. How much leeway do you give yourself on a trip like that? Like, are you on a budget when you travel, or do you just kind of, are you laissez-faire?
Yeah, I'm a bad guy. I'm a bad guy to think about when it comes to this, because when I travel, it is just travel. It's just vacation time.
Just go for it. Yeah.
I go nuts.
No, I'm the same way. I mean, I've done the budgeting beforehand. I'm like, I'm doing the trip. I'm going f***ing nuts. I don't care. I'm not penny pinching. I'm here. Whether it's cheap or expensive. You know what I mean?
I do have to say though, like, for example, if you take vacation from your work, you're still getting paid.
Yeah, see, that's something as a freelancer, I don't get that.
That's right.
So that must be awesome.
It's the best.
How does it feel to know you're being paid to travel?
Absolutely the best.
So why do people not take their vacation?
Well, again, it's, what we talked about earlier. It's
the pressure
basically
from work.
Yeah,
and
people feel, I think it's nonsense. And I think no one should feel that ever. However, here's the thing. I've done this before, actually. If your flight costs you $1,000 and you double that, and you expect that you're going to, on your vacation, you're going to spend $2,000 total. I've come back and I've made money based on that assumption.
Yeah, no, I've talked to Tara about this. I'm like, you're making money by being on vacation.
That's correct.
It's a hard concept to grasp.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, you got to take the time off that you're warranted, because you deserve it.
All right, we're going to do something now that I call rapid fire. I'd like a one-word or a one-sentence answer. I'd like you not to think about it too hard. Just tell me what you're thinking, blurt it out, and make it brief. Social media, good or bad for traveling?
Oh, great. Absolutely.
Why?
Social media is just a way to get your shit out fast.
Great. People falling off cliffs, taking selfies. Well-deserved? Or you feel sorry?
I mean, be aware, folks. Be aware. Well-deserved.
I would say social Darwinism, right? Like, they've got to go.
No question.
If you're, I'm sorry for all those people that know someone who's died from a selfie cliff accident, but good God, like, have a little awareness. How uncomfortable are airplanes for a man of your size?
I am 6'3", 280 pounds, 275 this week.
Good for you.
Trying to lose some pounds.
Coach, how's it feel?
The most uncomfortable thing known to man. And I'm telling you, this actually is one of my main things, especially when I'm traveling nationally in the US.
Do you upgrade to, purely for the comfort?
So what I was going to say is just get an airline that you go with consistently, and you'll get rewarded. For example, I work for Amazon. So Amazon is headquartered in Seattle, Washington. I live in LA. Anytime I go make that trip, I get points. And I'm telling you, 1 out of 4 times, I get upgraded.
Yeah.
I get upgraded to first class, and that's amazing. So find an airline that you trust in and play the point game.
Favorite airline?
Alaska.
Grossest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh my God.
Just say it. You know it.
How about this? Raw ground beef.
That's
gross. Do you remember the story about Prague?
Yeah,
The meal that they bought for me.
Oh, that's what they bought you.
Was raw ground beef.
You're like, I didn't tell you it was the worst meal of my life, but they...
No, but that was the gnarliest thing I ever ate. But it was delicious, I have to tell you. I'm just not really a fan of raw ground beef.
Yeah, we talked about this. I'm a texture guy. Raw beef is gross.
Raw ground beef and fried toast to dip it in.
Okay, couple strips, yay or nay?
I'm a big proponent of solo trips, but if you got a badass enough person that's, with you, that's doing these trips with you, absolutely, couples trips. Why not?
Yeah, they're fun. You have to find the right travel companion, right?
I'm telling you, my girl is the best when it comes to traveling. So yeah, if you have someone that's good to go, then make it happen. But I'm telling you, don't get in the wrong scenario. Look, if you got someone that you can't travel with, I'll bet you $1 million they're not the person you should be with.
Well, yeah, you should probably break up with them.
Bingo, bango. Absolutely. I can tell you this. The entire purpose of traveling is meant to understand others the way that you think you understand yourself.
That's some deep shit I'm going to have to reflect on. Words of wisdom from my amazing guest, Erol Kalafat, technical product manager at Amazon Studios. I thank you immensely for joining me in this session of Travel Unraveled. Good night and good luck.
You just hit spacebar in the Word doc. You idiot.
Idiot.